Great. Zach, so, I mean, I know the film and everything's got to be, looked at, but give us your quick analysis of what you saw today defensively.
Yeah, we started fast. First couple series, got them off the field, did a good job executing. Near the end of practice, I felt like we just fell off a little bit. I challenged the guys afterward. We have to maintain the first play of the first quarter and the last play of the fourth quarter the same. They're both as important, and you never know which one wins the game. So just maintaining the energy, the execution, the effort with technique throughout the entirety of a game, a scrimmage, whatever that is. We've got to be better at that.
Rich said that the tackling he thought was fairly decent, and there's probably concern for coaches considering you've done so little of it. You just haven't gone full contact much. Is it seem to be okay?
It was one of the better first scrimmages for sure I've had. Usually you get out there the first day and it's like you're whiffing left and right because you haven't actually had to go, body on body at any point to that time. But I felt like overall we did tackle pretty well today comparatively to, maybe first scrimmages of the past. So hopefully we can build on that.
How do you feel like your guys are handling all the stuff you kind of put on their plate with everything you want to do defensively?
Yeah, it's still early in camp. I front load a lot of things. I expect them to know everything. I tell them just because you're the freshman linebacker doesn't mean that Robert Morris puts the freshman running back in. So you better be able to execute all the calls the same way. And the expectation is everybody knows everything that we do every time. And so I'd say that, some of the older guys who are more experienced definitely have a good grasp. Some of the younger guys, it's probably still a little fast for them, and they're trying to learn. Good news is we got 3 weeks till we play, so a lot of time to rep it.
Was it a conditioning thing that the defense fell off more towards the end, or the intensity fell off?
I wouldn't say that. I just think there's got to be, situational awareness was probably part of it. We got to a lot of situations in the end of practice, and hey man, it's 3rd and 20. Know what you're gonna get. Not just lining up and coach called this. Well, all right, but now how do I play within the techniques and the scheme there? When the ball's on the 2 and the ball's on the 50, those aren't the same thing. And so just trying to teach them the game still situationally. I really felt like part of it was the lack of anticipation of what was coming, based on where the ball was and kind of the down and distance. We've got to do a better job of understanding the situations.
Is there more of that teaching now? Is that something a little bit of a lost art maybe from lower levels of football that you got to teach now more?
Yeah, I think it's harder because you don't have the continuity maybe of the roster you used to have. A freshman who stays for 4 years, he's heard me talk about it every day for, whatever that is, 1,200 plus days of his life. Whereas, a guy who got here that's, here for 6 months and maybe it wasn't as big of an emphasis for his coach, whoever he was before. Maybe it wasn't something in high school they talked about. It's definitely a new focus on it maybe here more than they've been other places because I always tell our guys, I want to play with anticipation. There's an anticipation to the rhythm of every opponent you play, and you should have some kind of knowledge based on what I've said, what their coaches have said of, this is what I get when this happens.
Are you having to fight some of the old stuff because you've got so many new guys?
I think it's just the instilling of a new culture generally. I think that, I'm not the same as whoever coached them last year, whether it's here, somewhere else, I have different expectations, different ways I do things that I want bought into, if you want to play. And I think that there's more just a general learning curve for the entirety of the defense because the intensity level, the diversity, the expectations are extremely high.
Rich mentioned this, I think, a couple days ago. You guys don't share plans. What you present to him, he's seeing for the first time in practice, and what he presents to you, you're seeing, and your guys are reacting. Have you ever encountered that any place you've been before where, like a coach will say, I need to see a little, 3rd and short, or you guys don't do that?
It's definitely more just kind of like treated like a game here than other places. Hey, roll the ball out. Here, the ball's in the 15, first down. We're down 7. So that makes me think about, I think, how to call it and what I know or think that I anticipate in that situation. But a lot of other places, I'd say maybe there's more structure around that. But, from a day-to-day, I generally know where the ball is going to be, what I'm going to have in that situation, whatever the time is, score, those type of things. So, but the personnels and the plays, we don't talk about it at all.
But I guess the intent is it okay, this is the way it is in the game. They're not going to tell you what you're doing. You got to figure it out on the fly.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's
Guys too, right?
same thing for them.
Yeah.
They've got to have anticipation to what we're doing. So I think Coach McNell might sneak a peek over there every now and then, see what the blitz install was. But other than that, no, it's pretty much all on all the time.
And is that unique? Did you have that at Oklahoma? Did you have it at Clemson or different places you were?
It's kind of give and take. I mean, certain times I've had and even Coach Rod and I'll do this, like, hey, we know on this particular play we want to see if we can get this look, over time. But those are few and far between. I think there's some other places I've been, you have a little bit more of that. Certainly last year that was more of a focus, because part of it was I think part of it, the 2 times it's been the most was when it was COVID. And you had like half your team was gone, so you better service the other side because nobody's there in practice. And then Oklahoma last year, I mean, there were so many injuries that some of that had to happen too. I mean, you get to bowl games now, like for example, bowl practice last year. I mean, I think there were like 80 players left, maybe 82 players to play in the bowl game. So you have to. There's a lot more collaboration when there's not enough guys to really run 2 full scout team groups and. You'll take some periods here or there to, all right, hey, I'll call it in my language or whatever that is, but they want to see cover 4 or cover 3 or cover 1 blitz and try and help out.
So following up on that a little bit, when you're evaluating what you saw today, are there a few snaps where you say, hey, we were just in the total wrong defense or coverage for this? We understand why the offense had success, or are there things that you can still learn? Hey, how did players play well when they weren't in the best possible call?
Yeah, I think that I wish every call was perfect, but most of the time they're not, and there's ways to overcome, and we give them tools for answers to problems. And sometimes today we didn't use those tools the right way. I'll be the first one to take blame, like, oh, that was a bad call right there. Every now and then, you're in quarters, they ran a quarters beater. Oh, all right, got to win the competitive rep. They threw one in the corner down here on man coverage in the goal line, and I mean the corner was right there. Freaking went for the ball. He threw it low outside. Guy caught it, went in the end zone, and nice play. Next time you move on to the next one because there'll be something Coach West can teach from that. And hey, if we'd been in this position, we'd have been better. But competitive plays happen, and though I want to dominate every snap, don't get me wrong. Like you like to see the offense make plays in practice too, because you want them to do it in the game. When you're in good position and where you're supposed to be, and hey man, what a great catch, or a dude made a guy miss. I mean, that's always encouraging.
Rich said the quarterbacks ran competitively today. How did you feel your side reacted to when they kind of broke containment and got free?
Yeah, I thought they did a good job of just getting out of the pocket and making us pay for. A lot of times lack of understanding or technique on our side. We weren't keeping contained to the field at all today. That was frustrating to me. We let a couple guys get out, and then nobody's left, and that guy's getting down there, and we're in good calls to keep them in the pocket, and we've got to learn and grow from that. But I thought they ran really hard. We got a bunch of tough guys back there that care, and I thought we tackled pretty well. So the couple times they got out, we were in poor positions to fit it.
Do you have enough competitive situations at all the positions? Are you happy with that? Are the guys close to each other, fighting for jobs?
Yeah, I think that most positions right now are really close. Obviously, after we grade the film today, you'll have some guys who separate in live fire compared to other guys. And the hardest thing is in practice, until you actually do it, there's no way to accurately evaluate all the time. Hey, man, it's going crazy. They're going fast. Coach ain't helping you. It's like a game. You're on the sideline. You got to line up, do your job, make the play, and some guys can, some guys can't. And we're trying to find as many that can. I told them, I told all of them after practice today, I said, listen, my job is to create competitive stress all the time. I'm not just, you don't just get to play because you're here. That's not how this works. You have to earn the right to play. When I present grades, and you're grading 30%, he's grading 75%. Would you play that? Would you play you? No. Okay. Well, why don't we work on that? And so I think for our guys to understand that everything, nothing's solidified. You know, we still got 2 weeks of camp, and they got to play hard. You know, but if you're consistently doing the wrong thing, I can't play you. It's no different than anything else in life. You know, hey, you got to know what to do consistently to be able to execute.
Well, more. I asked Rich this the other day. August 20, I guess, is the first day of class, so that's basically what you have left of camp. What do you have to see from now until that time when the students get back on campus and you're back to a normal schedule?
Yeah, you know, we need to grow in our understanding of both the scheme and the game. Both how we execute the plays we call, but also, you know, what does each situation tell me is going to come. I feel like some guys are really good at it right now, and some guys, man, that's the last thing on their mind, you know, when they're out there. And so we've got to do a better job as coaches and as a staff to just make sure they understand, you know, this is what's happening and here's why, you know, and then this is why we execute this way because of that. So if we can get those two things down, we'll have a really good shot going into the first game.
Zach, did you have a green dot with the coach to player today?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So
How do you do that? Everybody coach does it differently. I'm guessing a middle linebacker would be your designated player in there.
yeah, we put actually I've got quite a few of the backers in them in practice just so they get used to hearing me in their head. So if they have to go in the game and do it, it's not the first time they've heard me yelling at them before the snap. So I'll communicate with them out there. I try and help them with things I'm seeing. You know, hey, watch, you know, the back getting out here. Hey, it's, you know, 3rd and 12, play high to low. You know, set the front of the field, set the front of the boundary. You know, little things like that I can try and give them some help and some anticipation. You know, I relay the call sometimes that way, but, you know, we signal because they're going fast, and the other corner needs the call just as much as the Mike linebacker does. So sometimes it's hard to get everybody on the same page if I just tell him the call and he's got to tell everybody else because they're snapping the ball on us.
Because of the communication role that you want your linebacker to play, how important is that person's ability to take everything you're saying and to get the people in front of them, get the people behind them, part of your overall decision as to who goes where and like the depth chart or pecking order?
Oh, critical. Yeah. You know, I mean, nothing drives me crazier than I tell the linebackers, tell D-line something, and I watch them just stand there and look at me. You know, like, hey, man, I go get him lined up. You know, I'm trying to help you from the side. I can see it, you know, and so I think that's a big deal to me is the communication to both sides. You know, the linebackers at the end of the day, they're responsible for getting everybody lined up, whether that's the DBs, the D-line, whoever that is. It falls on your shoulders. And so if I don't see that communication, you know, that's something that we account for when we decide who plays.
Obviously, you try to replicate game day atmosphere and stuff like that as much as possible during a scrimmage. But what's the hardest part of a normal Saturday game day to replicate during these scrimmages?
Well, you know, my wife was here, some of the family, and, you know, about probably 30, 45 of them, and I didn't hear them cheering very loud, so probably the 65,000 people yelling at you, you know, every single week in the stadium just makes communication harder. You know, you got to use. I told the guys at practice, you got to use hand signals. You can't just yell at each other because you're not going to be able to see. You're not going to be able to hear them. You know, and so if you don't get the signal, you don't get your own signal, you don't do, you know, the things that it takes to win pre-snap, then, you know, when we get to game day and they are screaming and cheering, like, you know, we know this place is going to pack it out, you know, you're not going to be ready to go because you haven't been doing the things it takes to prepare for what's actually going to happen.
You share your recruiting stories to get Gabe Franklin back on the field and coaching?
Well, I just kept calling him. That was the main thing. You know, I thought Gabe did a really good job when we were at Boise State. I was very impressed with the talent, the guys he brought in. I think quite a few of them are still playing in the NFL. You know, and his ability to find guys and then teach them the game of football. You know, and I really enjoyed him as a person as well. He's a great man, great father. You know, great husband, and you know, he really reflects that in how he treats his players and the way he builds relationships with them, and he's hard on them but loves them up too, and you know, so finally I was able to convince him to come on and join the staff.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.